The Ragin Cajuns rally late. It's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Only a few ball games, not very little schedule. We'll recap some of it today, some of it tomorrow. Also, remember, we do have a game on Tuesday. We'll preview that game on a Monday. All right, again, quickly, thanks for everybody who's continuing to have the channel grow. Remember, please let people know, friends let friends subscribe to Locked On Sunbelt on YouTube and the audio podcasts, wherever you find your audio podcast, but most people seem to find it on Apple or Spotify. Please search for Locked On Sunbelt, rate and review in Apple Podcasts. All right, so in this episode, we'll talk about the Ragin Cajuns rallying late. South Alabama wakes up out of their 2023 slumber, and the herd has defensive issues. All right, let's talk about this Ragin Cajuns rally because it was not going well. This game was... Cajuns were struggling in this ballgame, right? Each team, this is against Texas State, Cajuns win at 34-30. Each team got off to a very good start, making it 7-7. Each team scored on their opening drive. And then the Cajuns actually get a sort of a stop. And these stops kept on happening. They were playing incredibly soft. Well, I'll get a chance. So I go to the games, cover the games, but then I have to rush back to the studio. So I don't get to ask Mike Desimone questions for the post game, but we will ask him the next chance we get, which will hopefully be later on today, about the soft defense. I mean, really soft defense that the Cajuns were playing. 3rd and 4, they're back 10 yards. 3rd and 1, the defensive backs are 10 yards off the ball. It's one thing if it's 3rd and 1 and you're 5 yards off the ball and you're coming up to make a play, although that's really still hard to, prevent a 1-yard gain in those cases. But they're playing really soft throughout, and Texas State hit a couple of big plays, but I guess nothing like they're used to. And the Cajuns end up getting some stops. So while Texas State is building a lead, they went up 10-7, and then the Cajuns go 3 and out because Zeon Chriss, another mistake, instead of just taking a sack, that would have been like a loss of 10 yards. He ends up fumbling, and now it ends up being a loss of, 21 yards. So then you punt, and Texas State scores a touchdown. So it's 17-7. Okay. Cajuns go down the field, not getting stopped by Texas State. Draylon Washington fumbles, and I'm not sure we saw much after that. It had been Zylan Perry fumbling in the red zone. 3rd red zone fumble that the Cajuns have had this season. So Washington fumbles. Texas State drives down the field, but again, kicks a field goal. So that's a couple of field goals in the red zone. Cajuns come back to score a touchdown. And I don't know if it makes a whole bit of difference. It ended up being a 3-point ball game. And I love myself some G.J. Kinney. I love his aggressiveness. I love what he's doing at Texas State. But I do not like kicking field goals, to be honest with you. He should have kicked a field goal at the end of the half. At the end of the half, Texas State was up 20-14. Cajuns get the ball to begin with in the second half, and you haven't done a whole lot to stop them outside of the Cajuns' mistakes. Instead of kicking a field goal, the Cajuns get a defensive stop. So instead of being 23-14, most likely, it's 20-14. Okay, that's the score at half, all right? Cajuns come out and fumble again. Zeon Chriss with another fumble. All right. Texas State, 13-play drive, but another field goal. 3 field goals. As far as I'm concerned, that's stop. So already we have 3 field goals and a 4th down breakup. 4th down, we're getting off the field, no points. Cajuns come back, and I heard G.J. Kinney talk about this. Cajuns converted maybe not on this possession. They just go down and score a touchdown, make it 23-21. This didn't have anything to do with the ball game. T.J. Finley threw a bad interception on the next possession, but then the defense stepped up and the Cajuns went 3 and out. Texas State gets a touchdown. It's 30-21. Okay, let's make sure when we know this is. All right, this is the fourth quarter. Most of the drive was in the fourth quarter. They finished it with 10 minutes to go. So this is a lot like LSU a couple weeks ago and Ole Miss, where LSU's got a 9-point lead. They need to stop or to waste some time off the clock, and they got neither. Same thing with Texas State. It was on this possession that the Cajuns converted a 3rd down and 20. Chris fumbled again, recovered by Zeon Chris. And then they lose yards on a run, but Chris finds Jacob Bernard for 21 yards. Cajuns go down and make it a 30-28 ball game. So now there is 6 minutes left to go. 5:50. We just need a couple of first downs if you're Texas State. That's all you need. You need a couple of first downs. You don't need points, but you need a couple of first downs. And the Cajuns did something they hadn't done all game long, and that was force a punt. Texas State did not punt the entire ball game. They either kicked a field goal or went for it on 4th down or scored a touchdown or turned it over. So they finally punt. Cajuns get a blocked punt. Now, before they block the punt, it's 4:46 to go. Cajuns only need a field goal to win. Telling sideline reporter Cody Juneau of the Ragin Cajuns radio network, score with 15 seconds left to go. You got to be methodical going down the field. You don't need to be in a hurry because Texas State can score quickly. Well, when you get it on your, let's see where they got it. 1st down and 10 on the Texas State 22. It's hard to waste 2 minutes. They run it 3 times. They get a big 3rd down run by Jacob Cabote. And on 1st and goal from the 8, Zeon Chris takes it in. All right. Texas State gets 1 first down on their possession. And then they force a fumble and the Cajuns recover. And that is your ball game. So the Cajuns were down 30-21 in the 4th quarter, convert a 3rd down and 20, block a kick, and get a fumble recovery. And Texas State loses for the 11th straight time to the Ragin' Cajuns. Cajuns prevailed 34-30. It was quite the scene to be down on the field at that time because it just felt like the Cajuns were going to lose all game. They couldn't get a stop. Even the turnover they got, they couldn't take advantage of. They kept on turning the ball over. We told you about a couple of fumbles and mistakes that Zeon Chris made. He got lucky. He threw one up for grabs, rolling out to his right near the sidelines, just run out of bounds or throw it away. He's trying to stick it into like a mosh pit, and somehow Texas State drops the football. Nonetheless, when it counted, Zeon Chris led them on a drive to bring them within 2, scores the winning touchdown, and the defense comes up with not one stop, but 2 stops at the end of the ball game. And now it appears, although we'll get to South Alabama here in a second, it still appears that the top 2 teams in the West, as of right now, are the Cajuns and Troy. Troy, and we'll get to them more tomorrow, they dampened Arkansas State just a little bit on Saturday. Again, Cajuns should be noted. Cajuns have to go to South Alabama. South Alabama's got a crazy schedule coming up, although so do the Cajuns. They are off. Well, not yet. I think that comes later. But South Alabama has all kinds of crazy schedule, not playing on many Saturdays remaining in the season. All right, so the Cajuns win it 34-30. They even up their record at 1-1 in the Sun Belt, 4-2 overall, and now they're off, and then they get Georgia State in. They will be favored in that ball game, regardless of what Georgia State does against Marshall. And all of a sudden, you go from being 0-2 and 3-3, you could be heading to Mobile 2-1 and 5-2. Big difference. Big difference in attitude. Just a big difference in confidence. So a huge win for the Ragin' Cajuns, but they need to cut down on those mistakes. It's one thing, and I'm not a big believer of the whole, you hear this from a lot of coaches. Well, we just have to worry about ourselves. Well, not in football. Maybe in golf, sprinting, diving, when it's only you. You are competing against other people, but they can't stop you. Football, they can't. Football, the other team is trying to stop you. So that's kind of tough to do. We only have to worry about ourselves. Doesn't really tell the whole story, except the Cajuns and Zeon Chris specifically keep on making some mistakes, and you're going to hear them, if you're paying attention, freshman mistakes. Well, when do freshman mistakes just become mistakes? And we talked about this last week. It's not as if Zeon Chris just landed in from Venus and is playing football for the first time. He's played football for probably half his life, if not more. So he's got to stop making the panic mistakes. Go down, play another play, either throw it away or take the 5 or 6 or 8 yard loss. Don't make it 21. All right. If they can start cutting back those mistakes, I mean, this game, it wouldn't have had to take a miracle to win it. And, they may have blown Texas State out, but they kept on stubbing their foot, and or stubbing their toe, whatever the case may be. And eventually they came around and made some plays. And so it's a great win, no doubt about it. Unbelievable that the Cajuns are 11-0 against Texas State, but that is the case. All right, let's take a timeout. When we come back, the South Alabama Jaguars wake up. My goodness, did they wake up? That is for sure. All right, time to tell you about the game changer of the week. Now time for a game changer of the week brought to you by Athletic Brewing Company. Much like not Carter Bradley, although he could be one. There are plenty of people to choose from this week, Carter Bradley and Colin Lacey from South Alabama, but we're going with Kamani Vidal of Troy. Athletic Brewing Company has completely changed the non-alcoholic beer game. They make non-alcoholic beers that actually taste good. Kamani Vidal is your nation's leading rusher. What do you have? 248 yards for Troy? 28 carries. I'm sorry. I shortchanged him. 245 yards and 3 touchdowns. Kamani Vidal is definitely your Athletic Brewing game changer this week. You can find Athletic in-store, online, and at bars around the country. They're the fastest growing non-alcoholic brewery in the U.S., so get on board. No hangovers ever. That sounds pretty good. You can find Athletic Brewing Company's non-alcoholic brews at a store near you or buy online at athleticbrewing.com. First-time customers can use code LOCKEDON to get 15% off your first online order. That's code LOCKEDON at checkout for 15% off athleticbrewingcompany.com. Near beer, exclusions and conditions apply. Athletic Brewing Company, fit for all times. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Let's talk about those Carter Bradley and Colin Lacey South Alabama Jaguars. Again, I came into this ballgame telling you that South Alabama didn't. At first, they were 12.5-point favorites. Then it went down to 10. And I was like, they don't have a right to be favored by 10 over Saraland. That's a Mobile joke. So if you're in Mobile, you understand it. Nobody else probably does. Although maybe you saw the first Saraland game this year. They're one of the top high school teams in the country, and they are just north of Mobile. Carter Bradley, 20 of 29, 303 yards, 3 touchdowns. LaDainian Webb, 100 yards on 19 carries and a touchdown. Colin Lacey, third in the nation, by the way, in receiving yards, 7 catches, 156 yards, and a touchdown, including a 50-yarder. This is the South Alabama team that I thought we were going to see, offensively and defensively. Just to show you, it is game versus game. It is week to week, all right? This was not in Mobile. This was in Monroe. South Alabama has never won in Monroe. Monroe is coming off a very difficult loss, but nonetheless, they put up 40 points against App State at home. They put up 7 against South Alabama, who's been getting torched defensively throughout the season, whether it's Tulane, Southeastern, Central Michigan, or JMU. Not on Saturday, they weren't. This is the first possessions. Let's count how many possessions they scored on in a row to begin the ballgame. South Alabama, first possession, touchdown. South Alabama, second possession, touchdown. South Alabama, third possession, field goal. South Alabama, fourth possession, touchdown. South Alabama, fifth possession, touchdown. They actually missed a field goal on the 6th possession. He does not miss. Diego Guajardo does not miss. He missed a 43-yard field goal. That's usually a no doubter. So he misses that one. They score a touchdown on the next possession, touchdown on the next possession, field goal after that, touchdown on the last possession. Craig Stevenson says it's the most point they've scored as a Division I team and the biggest difference in scoring also against a Division I team. South Alabama, this is the team that I thought we were going to get, and we have not, and I do not know why. I can't tell you why they looked like they did against JMU one week, and no, Monroe is not JMU. I understand that. But they looked so out of sorts against JMU, looked out of sorts against Central Michigan, looked out of sorts against Southeastern, looked out of sorts against Tulane. The only two teams they looked like they were expected to look at this way is Monroe and Oklahoma State, both on the road. That's very strange. And so South Alabama, they're actually 1-1 they're 1-2 in the Sun Belt, right? No, 1-1. I got that right. We need to check that out. They are 1-1 in the Sun Belt, 3-3 overall. Okay. And now let's see if we can find Craig Stevenson from AL.com. They have, we can look at this. Let's see if we can figure it out on our own. South Alabama's got a wacky schedule. He points this out. They do not play on many Saturdays moving forward. All right. They have, they play Southern Miss coming up on Tuesday, the 17th. So they have a couple extra days. Then they'll have a couple extra days. They do actually host the Cajuns on a Saturday, the 28th. Then they're at Troy on the 2nd. That's a Thursday night ball game, so that's a short week. So they have a long week to get ready, a little bit more than a week to get ready for Southern Miss. Then they have another long week, if you will, to get ready for the Cajuns. Then they're short against Troy. They do play Arkansas State on a Saturday, and I guess they finish up their last 3 ball games on a Saturday. The 11th, so then the 11th, the 18th, although when's the 25th? They do finish up on the 25th. Okay, that's at Texas State. So they have a little bit of an odd schedule over the next few weeks. Again, a Tuesday Southern Miss ball game. Cajuns are on a Saturday, and they're at Troy on a Thursday. Obviously, that's going to go a long way, right? Those 2 weeks for South Alabama, they get the Cajuns and Troy back-to-back weeks. Cajuns get Georgia State and South Alabama, and then who do they get? Then they get Arkansas State. They don't play Troy until the 18th. And unfortunately, it appears the Fighting Wolves have fallen off a bit. So that is disappointing. But the Cajuns kind of have this schedule sort of set up. We'll see if Arkansas State, what kind of team they are. Can they bounce back from what was an embarrassing loss to Troy? I don't think it's embarrassing to lose to Troy, but you've been putting up all these points and then you kind of revert back to form. Again, Troy's defense has come on. Troy's defense has definitely come on. All right, let's take a timeout. One team's defense that has not come on is Marshall. What is going on there? All right. They gave up a bunch of big plays to ODU a couple weeks ago, and they did the same thing to NC State. All right. But let's tell you about eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED lights, and more, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit. Only available to U.S. customers. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. I do understand that we're not going over the Troy ball game just yet, and we'll go over what we don't go over today, we'll go over tomorrow, and we'll preview the big, App State and Coastal Carolina game that's coming up on Tuesday. All right, what is going on with the Marshall Thundering Herd? Their defense has just not been what it was last year, right? Kind of get enough offense and get the defense to go, and they dominate, and you come away with some wins. Now, this is only the first loss that they've had all season. They lose 48-41 to NC State, and people are going to say, well, that's a Power 5 school. Yeah, NC State's not that great. All right. NC State is an average Power 5 school. The defense did get their quarterback to throw 3 interceptions. NC State had over 400 yards, 265 in the air, 136 on the ground, averaging 4 yards a carry. Now, this was a back-and-forth ball game. 7-0 Marshall, 7-7, 14-7 Marshall, 14-14, 21-14 NC State, 21-17 NC State, 24-21 Marshall, 28-24 NC State, 31-28 Marshall, 35-31 NC State, 35-34 heading into the fourth quarter. And Marshall couldn't get what they needed. 38-34, 41-34, 48-34, and 48-41. And somewhere along the way, you got to get your stops. Now, we're going to, again, could see it immediately after the ball game, following those guys at Thundercast. We're going to blame Cam Fancher. All right. Did not have the best of all ball games. We're not. Marshall fans are. All right. Cam, 29 of 51, not the most efficient ball game he's had. 315 yards, 2 touchdowns, and interception. NC State did a really good job of shutting down Rasheen Ali. 14 carries, 63 yards. They ran it a bunch. Cam Fancher, 20 carries, 25 yards. Again, did not watch the game, honestly. So a lot of those are probably drop back passes where it's counted as runs. But you tell me Marshall scores 41 points, I tell you they win by 20. They have some issues. Again, this were the touchdown. This doesn't even include any of the other big plays in the ball game. NC State's first touchdown, 17-yard pass. Okay. 18-yard run for the second touchdown. How about the third touchdown? 39-yard pass. How about the fourth touchdown? 37-yard run. How about the fourth touchdown? 62-yard pass. I mean, somewhere along the way, you got to make a play. You can't allow those explosive plays to happen. And Marshall has had that now. What do we have? Those are just the touchdown plays. So 39, 37, and 62. That's 3 explosive plays for touchdowns this week. What happened against Old Dominion last week? Same thing happened, right? Kadarius Callaway, 70-yard run, touchdown. Kadarius Callaway, 75-yard run, touchdown. Kadarius Callaway, 69-yard run, touchdown. That's way too much. That is not the Marshall Thundering Herd defense that we're used to. All right. The fans down there want Chad. The thing is, they want Cole Pennington, but what they don't realize is there's no Randy Moss. It's all great as your quarterback is. If you don't have the Randy Moss portion of the show, Chad Pennington is not Chad Pennington. All right. With all due respect to Chad. Thundering Herd legend. But there was the other half of that. All right. When maybe he was the best player in college football that year. Or for a couple of years. So I can't blame Cam on this. When Marshall's given up 48 points, although the defense does, was it more than that? Let me see. They got at least 3 turnovers, right? With the interceptions. And that's what it was. And they turned it over as well. Each team had 3 turnovers, 2 fumbles, and 1 interception. So I'm not sure if Cam were the fumbles by Cam. I don't know. But the defense has to start making plays, right? The defense has to start making plays. 400 yards is too much. And you just don't give yourself a chance. NC State's not that good. Did they actually make a change at quarterback? They started MJ Morris instead of, was it Brandon Armstrong? They make a change at quarterback. Kid's not bad, obviously, but made some mistakes. And again, this is who NC State's beaten. UConn by 10. They lost to Notre Dame, who's no great shakes. They beat VMI, all right, 45-7. They slipped by Virginia, who just won for the first time this past weekend forever. The best game that NC State's played probably is a 13-10 loss to Louisville. That's the best game they've played. That's a ball game that Marshall's going to want back. It doesn't really hurt them in the standings, but they could be 5-0. They could have been 5-0. So we'll see if they get that straightened out. They are playing Georgia State. I think they're the better team than Georgia State. But if you're having all kinds of issues slowing people down, Darren Granger is not the guy you want to try and slow down. All right, so it'll be interesting to see how that game goes. It is I believe it is in Atlanta, right? That's coming up this week. Georgia State, at Georgia State. It is in Atlanta, and it is on ESPN2. So that will be nationally televised. I will probably be at the LSU ball game. We'll see if we can get that worked out. All right. That is the plans for this week. Cajuns are off is the reason I'm doing that. Okay. Thank you so much hopefully they will get it turned around because they need to get it turned around because coming up is James Madison, Coastal Carolina, App State, South Alabama. James Madison, offense. Coastal Carolina, offensive-ish. App State, lots of offense. Georgia Southern, lots of offense. And South Alabama, potentially a lot of offense. So Marshall needs to figure out what they're doing defensively, and they need to do it quickly. All right. We'll get to the rest of the ball games tomorrow that we did not get to today. Let's see who they are. Scrolling back through all of the links that I started with. I guess I just could have gone to the scoreboard. There, of course, I went too far. All right, so, actually, we just have Troy, Arkansas State, and Southern Miss and Old Dominion to do, and we will, of course, preview the ball game coming up on Tuesday. That is on ESPN2. That's App State hosting Coastal Carolina. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in today's edition of Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. I'm your host, Dave Schultz. Please continue to subscribe. Please let people know about it. And don't forget about those audio downloads. Search wherever you get your audio podcasts. The most popular ones appear to be Apple Podcasts. Please rate and review, and Spotify. Have a great week, everybody. And once again, thanks for watching and listening to Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day.